RETA, they start strong with a 13-6 on that first map of Icebox. Welcome back, everybody, to VALORANT Ascension. And something that we're seeing right now is something that also the players and the coaches for RETA, they talked about yesterday, not really playing like themselves. And today, the game looked a lot more coordinated, more cohesive, with more ideas and innovations, Uber, that allowed them to get this first map win.
Absolutely. I look, honestly, on an individual level as well, they look much improved, but a lot of that has to do with their protocols. Their holding protocols on their A-site attack hits were so sick. So much so that, like, Nozine's on top of, like, 310 and doesn't even bother looking down at a player coming through a wall from TSM because he knows someone else is holding it. This is really nice. It's almost reminiscent of Leviathan's tightness on that side. So, also just kind of dominating in the first kills, right? We saw him pick up that operator and have massive impact. And I don't know, we talk a little bit about like the Jet and Reyna dichotomy. It's a little bit harder to pull off some of this stuff with the Reyna. Like, you want to be scrapping a bit more, you want to be fighting, but Nozine can post up on B defensively with an operator, get a first free kill. Yeah, he's feeling it, and so we should be. This is a massive improvement.
Yeah, it's definitely an advantage having that movement duelist and being able to get in and get out quick. Strike first, strike fear. 5 and 1 on the first kills, the first deaths. 24 and 10. Hold that ratio for Snowzine with the 327 ACS. This is a stunning performance from him, and quite a turnaround from what they were showing yesterday. I mean, you heard the coaches, you heard the players. These guys were saying, you know, yesterday, that wasn't us. That ain't us. This is the RETA we've been expecting. This is the RETA we saw slapping around teams in Latin America, and the team that we thought was going to be a dominant force coming into Ascension. And it's good to see, you know, they went to bed angry, they woke up with a vengeance, and they said, look, we're gonna make this team pay for what happened yesterday.
And I don't want to boil the whole game down to first kill, first death, sorry, but I mean, look at the similarity between the first kills first, like, for both sides and their round score. Like, it's almost identical. I think on this map, it's a huge difference maker.
It's just the impact that you're seeing in many different ways and in many different layers from RETA, but they do it on this first map. I'm wondering if they're able to do it too on that second map of Bind. Now we're seeing a RETA that couldn't win any of the pistol rounds, and that second round, the anti-eco, they were able to take away every single time for TSM. And also for TSM, it was, I was wondering, especially on the second half, where is this team? It was 6 rounds in a row towards the end that RETA were getting, and I feel like on that map of Bind, Psycho, I don't think it's going to be the same case for TSM. They are a little bit inconsistent, but so is RETA, and this should be a map that TSM is able to get and push to the third one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it pulled up here, but I believe TSM have won 6 of their last 7 Bind matches. I mean, this is a map where they're feeling extremely comfortable, and it's a map where RETA struggled yesterday. I mean, just full on. They 13-2. That's a tough loss to eat, right? And it really shows that whatever game plan you had going into yesterday was not working. So I would expect them to come in with a completely different game plan, a lot of different site takes, maybe a bit more pace changes. But I mean, if they can keep this momentum going from this first map, I mean, this is something where they can really take a stab at closing this out 2-0. But, you know, like Vansili hinted on again, they don't necessarily need to. You know, Bind is TSM's map, and, you know, going into Haven map 3, even if RETA aren't able to close out map 2, Haven is a very good opportunity for them to close this out 2-1 and make a statement here against TSM.
They have a good chance to get an upset here, but for the second map, the little things, the momentums, and the way they were able to take it down in 2 is those small things like the walls that we saw from Sutter on this map of Icebox Uber.
Yeah, like, some of them actually seem pretty off the cuff. Defensively, he's got a couple different variations, like he's throwing it up to belts just to cut off a potential angle for Sim and give them a little bit more safety on the side. And over here, like, through America's, like, VCT, we saw teams like try and do Harbor stuff on the fly. Like, the only team that really was able to get away with it, I think, was Leviathan, honestly. But, like, there was a high tide thrown up here on the B side. So this one here, they actually regroup behind this, right, to try and, like, you know, go for a retake. They give themselves, like, that little concave and some time to set up. And on the attack side, it looked a little bit more standard, but it got placed pretty, you know, early down by green. There were a lot of, like, good little trap plays that were around that. And you can see TSM were trying to fight them. The pistol round is a good example. They, like, had TSM come all the way up green and really buttressed up against the wall. And then there's, like, a snake bite that makes it impossible for Gimon to fire properly. There's a shot baited by Snowzine with a, you know, with a dash. And all of a sudden, like, TSM are, like, you know, struggling to even sort of trade evenly there. So they did win that round in the end. But really enjoyed the Harbor play. Thought that was a nice little variation here. And it definitely gave, you know, like, RETA, considering they're a flashless team, right? They have to contact up through this util for their retakes, which means that, like, their trading has to be super good. They have to hold each other's angles, you know, meticulously. And I think they did that really good, especially when they're under extreme pressure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Harbor, a great pick for this map. And we saw people starting to experiment with it when the agent first came out as a replacement for, Sage, having that cove to help you plant the bomb. But, most of the time I'm seeing it played with a flash agent. I mean, these guys do not have a flash agent. Like you said, they're having to contact up, they're having to take these risks. And when they feel like the risk is too much, they're using the harbor wall to block line of sight and keep progressing forward. And it's, like you said, it's very off the cuff. They're feeling it right now. This is a flow state team. These don't look to be plays that they've drilled out in practice. These is a team that's defaulting and adapting and understanding what TSM are doing and using their utility properly to progress through the round and pull the rounds in their favor. So this bodes extremely well for RETA for the rest of the series, and it shows that this is not the RETA we saw yesterday. This is the RETA who are playing off each other well. They're communicating well. They're aware of what's going on, and they're understanding how to support their team with their utility to get the job done.
But it's not going to be easy to get the job done on Bind, because for TSM, this is a map where I want to highlight Seven because he is amazing on the Gecko. On the past couple times we've gotten the chance to see it, even just yesterday against Galores, he ended up 26 and 16. Not only he's supporting his team with his utility from the Gecko, but he's also fragging out every single time that he's on this agent. So this should be a map where you have to keep your eyes on him, Uber, and you have to keep an eyes on what he's able to do and the rest of the squad, because I feel like this is going to go to a third map.
Yeah, I definitely feel good about TSM on Bind in general. There are a lot of rounds where Sim really gets going, hitting that A side. I think that there's a good fluidity to a lot of those A hits. And remember, we're talking about a team that plays the deadlock. So RETA now are going to get priced into this difficult decision about, do we anchor in on the site? Do we fight here? Do we try and play often at a numbers disadvantage to avoid a post-plant scenario? Can we play ahead of this deadlock util? Can we avoid getting caught out? RETA are not quite as an aggressive team as, like, 2GR, for example. Like, we aren't going to see them push into this deadlock util on defense in those early rounds, because that's where Proto was catching people out time and time again. He's like, okay, I'm going to sit here on A short, right up on the attacker side of the map, and wait for people to walk up, try and get that aggressive play early. So they have to be aware of this, but I always felt, especially the LATAM teams, they're more stable, they're a little bit more methodical, and they like to play a little bit slower. So that will be harder. But when it comes time to sort of, go up a gear, they do need some understanding of, like, where the deadlock is, where the deadlock util is going to be sort of set up. And they play this, like, sort of, Sky Gecko composition. It's pretty decent with, gaining that sort of information, and they have good fast hits. They use the Viper to get nags it nice and, deep up A short, So I do want to sort of see how these early round protocols happen. And one thing that we weren't a huge fan of yesterday was the way in which RETA were trying to get, control of Shower, often by just sticking Snow there. And he was falling into a couple of these traps, right? And that's an individual thing. It's maybe him getting ahead of himself, looking to sort of take these fights when otherwise he'd better off just sort of falling back early. And one thing I harped on yesterday was about setting him up for success. I mean, Snow did that for himself in that previous map. He looked mechanically absolutely on point. But this is a map where you're at risk of getting caught when you try to push up defensively for the info. Not only if there's double stack players over towards Showers, but also a Proto being cheeky with a lot of that util. So this is a gear shift. It has to be a gear shift for RETA here. And I think they can rely on that stability to get them past a lot of the tricksy stuff from TSM.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this will come down a lot to, how can they play against this deadlock comp? Do they see a lot of this in LATAM? How much experience do they have working, slow working the map, trying to bait out that deadlock util, trying to figure out where he is and trigger the traps? If they rushed it and they're trying to just push into sight and they're falling for the deadlock traps, it's going to be a messy sight for them. But if they can slow roll these early rounds really well, get a good understanding of what TSM are trying to achieve with their deadlock, try and bait out that wall, and then hit the site later when TSM are low on util, that's going to be the win con here for these guys on T side.
There's a couple ideas here, and in terms of this map of Bind, we got the chance to see it for both of the teams yesterday, but going very different ways. So to jump into the agent select today, things should honestly most likely remain the same. And as we were able to highlight a couple of the players, that Deathlock is going to be continued to be played by a Proto. 7 is going to continue on this Gecko. And on the other side, there's a couple things to look up to, because we didn't really see much from RETA yesterday here. It's a 13-2. They only got the first and second round, and that was it, Uber.
Yeah, it was awful. it was awful. They were walking into so much. They were getting caught out by a ton of stuff. However, it's a different day, and a lot of our insights from yesterday aren't really valid anymore. I really think this team are clicking. They're showing us a lot more of what they are known for. So I feel much better about them. I think Suta is going to be someone on the Gecko who we're looking at, right? Can he match the presence, I guess, and impact of Seven across the other side of the map. We're going to see a lot of fast hits with a lot of util. Dizzy's going to get thrown out. It's going to get pretty hot and heavy here, so you keep your eyes peeled for those messy engagements.
Well, we're going to see if it's going to be RETA getting 2-0 on this map, or is going to be TSM pushing us to the third map. It's time to once again send it to the casters. Vance and Gumfers, take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Dan. It's been a battle, for TSM. Already starting off in that first map, Van Silly, which has not worked out too well in their favor. But finally, Bind, a TSM map that we will get to see if they can reign victorious on.
And it's definitely going to be a battle for RETA in the second map, though, of Bind. Yesterday, when they actually played this map, it was their map pick. They only got 2 rounds against 2G. Not only that, it looked like they were playing like a very old-school Crew 2023 style, where they gave so much map space and tried to play a lot of delay around the utility that you have around the mollies, the nades, and the other mollies coming through from the 3 agents of Brimmy, Viper, and Gecko. So if the coach has been saying here on the RETA side, we're going to be a lot more different. They haven't been resting. They've been restless, trying to maximize and try to do at least something better here on their attack side to start things off for RETA here on this Bind map.
Oh my gosh, dude. It feels like I was just watching aim labs for a second. That's insane. It was a quick shot. And finally, that was just the aim practice at that point.
TSM right
they were just practicing. That initial flash wasn't it.
And that's TSM too, reading towards how RETA playing a little bit more passively on defense and attack, wanted to take more pressure here on their defensive side, and they capitalize with 2 kills. This is perfect.
They already got a huge advantage starting off in this pistol round, but we've seen, a quick recollection before. Honestly, too, with Snowzen slowly gathering themselves a bit today. I feel as though they could definitely make a difference here. It seems like TSM not allowing that to happen. Snowzen gets absolutely demolished with that duo ship there. Yeah, TSM, they go for it.
And that's a strong point for TSM, and what RETA needs to start realizing here and try to fight against a deadlock, because they probably never played against this comp or haven't played against this comp too much here in the live setting. When it comes down to a Proto not needing to use any of that utility very early into the rounds, where he doesn't have to waste out a wall, doesn't have to waste out a net, that on top of the other pieces of utility that were still available around there for TSM, it makes it very difficult here for RETA to really stay inside that site to fight for the pulse plant. And when you're going to give up sight on the pulse plant, well, if you're going to have 7 still alive, that wingman is going to do a lot in terms of sticking onto that spike, and then TSM could just set up here for any type of trades using wingman as a 6-man. This is where it starts. You see this Dizzy coming out, already you have to throw out the wall. So these protocols are actually really good for RETA to do so far, because this should be an easy Dizzy to pick up that's going to be refreshed, but that's less utility for TSM in the long run if RETA wants to play a little bit more of a slower pace.
Yeah, with the bias too. My apologies, actually. RETA not investing into this round, instead being able to pick up, and it's not an outlaw, that's a sheriff. It kind of sounded like one for a second, but
yeah,
not a sheriff, sorry.
Marshall, yeah.
Marshall.
Something that Snow uses all the time too, right? So Soother picks it up, tries to get some pick, and nags it, though, is able to get a lurk pick towards A.
Not too much of an inconvenience, though, for 7. He does keep himself pretty secretly kept there. Yeah, it's good. Already for 7. Like, it's a solid 3K and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising because it's still an anti-eco round for TSM, but there was 3 guys with pistols pretty much getting ready for a trade at this point. That should have been dead to rights there for 7. And this is looking good for TSM. We talked about how they have troubles here converting on strong anti-ecos. So now this time around, not like yesterday, they keep 4 players alive, and that's going to help them build the economy in the long run, unless something happens here into their bonus round and into the next. But you're definitely seeing here with 7 getting 3 picks right there, they're going to get very close to this Thrash, and Sim getting halfway pretty much as well into his showstopper. That's also going to accumulate into how difficult it would be for RETA if they can't activate quickly and early on Bind.
Yeah, they got shut down, I think, faster than what they were expecting, but it is a moment to kind of revert things back here. Although double flash is not looking too good, especially to start off, but everybody is walking blind, so.
Yeah, just to find information too, and you're being proactive around the map for TSM. Double flash, dog towards long, and this is the call that the hit's going to be towards the A side. Love the pivot from RETA to immediately go for the hit right after.
Are gonna wait just a moment, not feeling like they're in dire need of space right now. They do have majority of what they need. Honestly, Nagzet can't really play for any sort of post plant, though Snowzen good enough on their own with that pain shell. Flash popped out, finally being able to at least exclude some of these players down on the side of TSM, but they have everything they need, right? They have that duoship they can play for there. Luckily enough, RETA finally being able to gather back that paint shell to use in that moment. So it is going to be a huge round take back in.
Oh,
at least for them. No, but TSM, they could take this back. It might just be easy enough for them. Nagzet can manage to make some sort of space and time, but it's a Proto to not allow that one to be taken away.
And that's what you wanted to convert here, going into your bonus round to get that win against that push. The pivot that came out after hearing that double flash coming out from Sands, I mentioned it before, loving the push coming out from RETA. They had great positioning for the crossfire setups and the baits here towards that front of the site. And I do not think that they expected the amount of utility in players to flood back towards U-Haul to trade that area to make sure that Poise gets the best out of the flank as possible. And that should have been a kill, though. That Poise should have been taken down towards that cubby when Soother was holding that angle, and unfortunately lost it, and that was their demise right there. TSM looking very strong now on Bind, and and as I say that, the caster curse is back. Poise gets picked. Sheriff in the dome, and that's the opt-out.
Oh, they've lost it. Man, tough shot like that, too. Yeah, nobody's watching. TSM completely caught off guard twice, actually. Now possibly a third. It's absolutely insane how well somebody can just fare off with Sheriffs and Guardian stuck in this round.
Yeah, that was just a rank round here for TSM. After losing the first player, I mean, it looks like a rank round, and I'm kidding around here, but you're trying to make plays, you're trying to find information. The one that's trying to find information with your flashes or the dog is already picked off in the very beginning. So you have to activate a little bit more to figure out where the positioning is for RETA. So you're going for a high risk, high reward. You're moving right into a default setup for RETA, and everybody is just in a crosshair placement, easy taps coming through. But that kill that happened onto GMD in the back of triple, that was almost basically what happened to RETA going into that second round of Icebox or third round of Icebox, where nobody communicated alert coming through towards Boiler into the A site. So TSM getting a little bit of a taste of their own medicine pretty much at this point. But thankfully, at least, they'll be able to save the op into this round.
Kind of just looked like they were too confident, too. I mean, three players maybe just peeked up pretty aggressively out on long. So yeah, really did get a taste of their own medicine, like you said. So, you know, some sort of level of respect definitely going back over towards RETA for this round. At least rightfully so.
You see RETA looking for that first push here, information towards long, knowing that the op was saved in the previous round, trying to see if he was looking for an aggressive pick in that area. But Sim's position towards showers, and this is a good place to contain so far, and it's not going to give a chance for the attacking side to really pivot back into a TP into the A site. So now they have to commit now into a split towards B, and all that utility from the deadlock could do a lot.
Oh, and peeked out of it. Snowzen, they do lose out on that paint shell, but the back site has not been cleared just yet. They do have a lot of time they can play for here. Snowzen not really working in correlation with anybody else onto the site, but Maurice there. Keeping out as much as they can, though. Stuck in this 2v2. No player advantage left to it unless Sim has anything to say about it. But the beauty of that is the paint shell brought about to leave this down to TSM.
And it's once again in those chaotic moments that GMD, you saw those numbers dropping down one by one for TSM, ended up being a 2 versus 4 that instantly converted into a 2-0 for TSM at the end of the round. Just as how quick they came through for GMD to just catch some players off guard. They're not expecting for him to re-peak so quickly and for him to be a little bit more scared. But GMD is always pushing W in these moments and gets that pick and allows TSM here to convert it back. That could have been a broken economy for TSM moving into this round, but it's RETA instead. And RETA is going to be spotted now by a flash long. Sim's in the position, and Sim's going to walk down. know if the dog saw him.
It's crazy how, you know, they kind of just revert back to this aggressive take too, because last time they did get taken out by RETA. It doesn't seem like they've ever won, you know, that long angle before. Just trying to win it out this time around, maybe create some sort of sense of fear, but the fear now instilled. They do have enough time to back off. The A site looking a little bit more attractive here.
When they do that, I mean, you just saw what a Proto did on that previous round with the graph net. He was able to stop right away the showstopper of Snowzine. Still has that available in this round around the sonic sensors too. So yes, the A site looks tasty at the very beginning here, where now not as much. 2 players rotated across, and there's still util to hold them back. Paint Shell still available though for Sim, although he's all the way on the other side of the site. But double mollies for both GMD and 7 with the net could do a lot.
Destroyed. That's such great information to get ready for this take, too, especially when you have so many players just waiting for it, but they managed to get one and are looking to stop this from happening, but I think it's over. I don't think they get out of that alive. Yeah, Dalsik not able to get out in time, so it is good for TSM, at least for the time being. Oh my gosh, nothing is working out in favor. Every single piece of util just completely pushed out, at least now for Naxet to play with.
Nice try, kid.
In correlation, damage there, but GMD, he is able to take it back.
They survive. Plot armor for the pulse plant position for RETA, but again, TSM converts it around, but look at the economy carrying it over to the next. Another anti-eco pretty much. I mean, yes, they had 2 Vandals on the attacking side for RETA, but overall, this should have been much more cleaner for TSM, especially with what they were trying to combine here in terms of information and what they saw in the map control that they took on the retake. I think there was a slight overheat coming out from a Proto, though, after he cocooned the first one, but trying to peek out on 2 players that were netted. I mean, they could stay crouched. It stays accurate. They're on pistols on top of that. Guaranteed trade. And then TSM, though, you're moving into this round where, yes, you're still able to go for a strong gun round, but if they lose this one here, they're going to go to an eco because of those moments where the attacking side, the opposing side, could always fight back.
Man, there's no fighting back when Delzik just gets demolished off the start.
That smokes down.
Yeah, that's got to suck.
Toxins going up.
Okay, good still. It's something else special here. Sim has been on a roll, especially with the op. Now they do have the high angle position they like to play pretty frequently, though the A site with them left alone, I mean, it is going to be kind of risky taking this out on their own.
Even to raise it high. Should have been a free kill for Sim. He manages to stay alive and even peeks out to get the pick onto Snow, and that's going to be it. No lurk opportunities. I mean, there's a plant, yes, but you're on a 5 versus 2.
Good on them, too. For TSM, yeah, going to be an easy retake to accompany, unless, honestly, Southern might have something to say about it. I see potential here, kind of leading into it, with the Dizzy still readily available. They're not going to use it, though. Completely big push already input into the moment. And the ultimate not going to be used, is going to save that for the next round. So let the defusal happen. You know what? I'll take my weapon with it, and maybe a couple picks from here on out.
Able to potentially save it. Yeah, you already see TSM falling back. They know that their economy is not the best either, so they can't really chase for that kill. So they'll rather go into more rifles versus that single rifle on the other side here of RETA. But thankfully, at least from that plant, that's going to add a little bit more. 300 across the board, moving into this round right here where a pause comes out, a tactical pause, where they still need to figure things out once again here for RETA. Playing those pulse plant positions, playing a little bit offside. This is what we mentioned before, but this is from A to Z. It's things that you're trying to fix after over-analyzing what happened to you against 2G yesterday. You're trying to say, okay, we're playing a little bit more passively. Let's be a little bit more aggro, and they're trying to be a little bit more aggro. They get picked off by Sim with an op. So now they need to leverage a little bit more of that Gecko, or at least the initiator utility. Very similar to what they were doing here on Icebox for TSM, trying to figure out where the op would be against Snow. Well, now you have to figure out where Sim's going to be, because now he's not going to be penalized or held back by a Reyna position. He could satchel now. He could re-peek, satchel away. He could do the same thing with a Jet on Haven. So he's going to be very dangerous now to deal with, or to deal against.
No, not going to be easy. I mean, it hasn't been. Definitely so far. TSM, they picked this map for a reason. Bind wasn't necessarily the top pick for for RETA. I'm surprised they kept it in the pool, especially after performance yesterday, but assuming, you know, they were feeling more confident, they looked better today. So could be reasons there. Either way, TSM rolling with the punches here.
Yeah, and it's normal too, right? If you're looking back towards the region of LATAM when they were playing, I think they're overall like what 7 or 8-2 going into the LATAM region. So it's also a map that's very comfortable for this team. I think it was also even previewed on the desk yesterday when you're looking at the map pool between RETA and 2G. It's a very similar map pool where both teams didn't mind playing Bind at that point. So you think you come in with a strong composition. You're coming in with what is standard pretty much at this point that was coined here in North America, in the Americas rather, in the VCTs, brought to you by 100 Thieves, with the exception of maybe a Fade instead of a Sky. But the theory around that still stays the same, where you could do much more than you can in terms of delays here with the double controller, still be quite effective on the aggression.
Trying to back off too. The tension just leading it to that was insane. Those managed to get themselves out of that situation alive, but now the defense having to play for the retake here, especially now that RETA found themselves the site very, very effectively. Though huge, tons and tons of util just being expended. And honestly, for RETA, it's just another day in the office, right? Snowzen can't seem to let go of the headshots here.
You'll take it. And coming out of this timeout to get such a convincing round, but you definitely know from this timeout that it was just, okay, well, we're trailing behind 6-1. Let's just explode with our ults and try to get as much as we can here, but they're going to move into the next round with nothing. A Proto trying to save the op and manages to do so with these 2 kills and is just trying to delay the last 2 players. We'll be able to cross over, so at least, thankfully here, it should be able to be salvaged into the next round. But as I was trying to mention now, this is a 6-2 scoreline. We're going to have now only 4 rounds to go into the half, and they're going to be very far away into the next cycle of ults here for RETA. So they go back into this gun round position, this gun round situation where TSM has continued to take the upper hand of.
Pretty frequent there too. Man, it's starting to get tense, I feel like, as well, with less smiles, now more thinking here coming through from TSM. Of course, though, that being said, absolutely spectacular performance from everyone coming along here, though. Good from RETA for finally being able to kind of recollect themselves backwards here. Now finally Showstopper readily available, and a pop flash to start things off from TSM, looking for some sort of advancement, but gets shot down almost immediately by Sim, and there's no chance, no opportunity for you to take this back if you're RETA. Instead, you get taken down, and it's done.
Oh my god. And we talked about cycling ults, and they wouldn't have that much left. Yes, they had a showstopper remaining, and it got canceled right away. Look at that, popping in right in the dome. Flash coming out to support. What great pieces of utility coming out from TSM to hold down this defensive side. And this is where it's going to get even more dangerous, because the composition that TSM is currently running in and everybody gives praise for, with a deadlock in your composition, the best advantage that you have is how strong she could be in the lockdowns of sites when you're playing aggressively, and they have such great util to activate Sim on the attacking side. But now they're doing this on the defensive side too. RETA might be looking to a spot where you may have a similar final score, although in different spots here of the timeline, just as it did against 2G yesterday.
I mean, how do you recover from that? Really, like...
You GG go next, you have to, right?
At this point, yeah, now Wingman can't even walk. So, like, everyone really is having trouble here. It's getting difficult.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, this is absolute chaos coming down on the site too. And it just gets worse, right? Angel to just deny every single ounce of that post plant, and they're going to do whatever they can to kind of continue that. Though a Proto absolutely no util to use, so they're going to have to try to fight this 1v1, lure it out exactly as they did. Maybe fighting something more, right? They know that majority of these players are low now, stuck to this 1v3. capability there. Yeah, and completely done and dusted. TSM, they're unbeatable.
Too good here with the, again, the wingman throwing out. The utility is very good for TSM towards the end. But it was so nice, that shot that came through the wall bang, because they just traced the shots coming out from GMD. He damages Maurice and Soother down to so low, and one nags at Guardian, saves his two teammates, but unfortunately was not enough for the rest of RETA to get ready in the pulse plan to hold it back, because there was still too much utility coming out to answer back here from TSM from the spawn, especially with the paint shells out from Sim, and everybody just activates very quickly behind the Thrash, and you have no chance to really set up here for RETA. 2 more rounds to go in the half end. Thankfully here for the last 2 rounds, there's a potential stalemate in terms of ultimates. So you go back to the gun rounds that, once again, gives the advantage for TSM. A fast pivot out from RETA, trying to up the tempo to take control towards long B. But overall, you can see it here, Chad, it's a default setup, a 2-1-2 setup. So they could maybe try to go for late control here towards, it's a 3-1-1, as most of the utility is being used on this B side to hopefully pull out a rotate.
With the assumption of Dog already making its way out, yeah, they push themselves back over towards A. TSM not really gathering much there, so they're not going to put too much attention over to it, especially with that rotation.
Thing is, they already rotated one player out, so Sim's alone here with the op on the top. And you see that they're just trying to activate towards this short, so that you activate a late lurk from Nags at 4 showers. And here is him moving forward as we speak.
And Pain Shell doesn't reach far enough in order to be able to cause some sort of havoc here, so not too much pressure already being applied on it. Instead, they're actually pushing themselves forward faster. Pressure being uplifted here now with Nags and making the impossible happen. And all they need to do is keep this going. 30 health left on Nags, but it doesn't matter. GMD nowhere to be found. Instead, running away from the opposition.
And you mentioned me, that dog that was used here on the attack side from Maurice. After he moved it up, they didn't really do anything on the long B side. They cut noise. But again, this is also instilling a little bit of paranoia on the defensive side for TSM. If they're cutting noise, are they trying to re-hit? Have they rotated out? So you're trying to rotate some players around to find some information on your side, so you lose that third player inside that A site to try to stack back towards B, which is surprising enough because you still have those sonic sensors, you still have the utility from a proto that's available towards that B site. So you tried to go for the gamble to get information, and you weaken out that A site, and it was a perfect timing that came out towards the end here for the attack side for RETA. Especially, again, they don't have a player inserted into showers early, so naturally Nags, it becomes a late lurk instead of the fast rotate and TP out towards that site, because they didn't see that pressure coming out here from TSM at long B in the mid-round.
At this point, becoming better at applying that pressure. Yeah, especially for RETA too, because now Snowzen kind of investing just a little bit more into the up, expecting some sort of up play, as we've seen from TSM very, very often. Down towards B. Not going to find anything though. Maurice not going to find anything either. Is going to back themselves off, especially since that is not the place you want to be right now.
And for TSM, they lose control here of long B, so they want to anchor up towards the hookah, so the late TP could come across for TSM, or they all pinch back towards the spawn. So giving up that area, why? Because the Proto has this deadlock ult available too for the retake towards long. He's delaying even more with the wall. And look at that, just one simple wall. 4 players are now ready and posted up towards the B site.
Oh, and it's beautiful. Great on the side of a Proto. They wait for the perfect moment to strike just on the U2 alone. And now a free pick off of Delzik. So they've stopped that push completely. And the Spike is looking for that rotation.
It is just too good. The sonic sensor back towards the hookah too, with Poise pushed up in that position to set up for a stun with a fight, allowing Harry Proto to just fully focus towards his B side to throw the net down and combine it here with the paint shells of Sim. And you already see it here, the last few players with no economy left. They're trying to save their weapons, and Poise is going on the hunt. More power to it, but he made a step.
Okay, so but the timing, not good enough. Knowing
10 seconds left.
Might be a peak possible here. 8 seconds though, no time left. Nags at just looking for a possible pick before they do end the round off with nothing. And that might just be it. The 9-3 Blacklight Flawless coming through, and half as well. Just ending it off for TSM.
At least for RETA fans, rejoice. They got one more round. They did it yesterday so far with more rounds to play though on the second half, right? But look at how good that combination was. Even the paint shells that were thrown here at that point totally nullified Souther trying to go for a thrash and enter that site. They break that, and what was it? It was the wall that was being shot out that allowed here TSM to use that as recon information to go for that play and really canceled out that hit from RETA. Very, very nicely done. And now they move over to the defensive side here for RETA, where, again, this was much more passive, what they were playing yesterday against 2G. You have to hopefully do something like they did towards Icebox to take more map control as a trio, as a buddy system to fight back here against TSM's defaults. But for TSM, they're very, very quick here on their type of hits, especially on pistols.
Yeah, they're good. We've seen it. I mean, so far, even on the defense, it feels like there really is no getting by this team. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like once we do switch sides and you know, do get to see these players in a more comfortable light, especially on a map favorite of theirs like Bind. So, you know, for RETA, you'd think, oh, they never stood a chance. Well, you know, that just might be the case, right? TSM, this is their home. Like, you're pretty much stepping in their territory as they were for you on Icebox.
Yeah. In chat, he was saving for stats in the last round of the first half, of course. That's what he was trying to do. But nonetheless, here, looking at RETA to hopefully also use that time that they were pausing here in that last round to try to reconvene and chat a little bit more. You maybe take that advantage too with the extra 40 seconds. You know, it's kind of like a lost cause. Played against a 4 versus 2, a 5 versus 2 in that last round. So you're trying to make sure here that the IGL could maybe cook something up here for this pistol round right here to hopefully try to narrow down that gap that narrow down that lead that TSM has done, because a 9-3 scoreline looks very strong here for TSM. But remember their own matchup yesterday, they actually had to win this in overtime after a very strong start. I think it was like a 6-1 scoreline that they had against Galleries before it came into a victory into overtime. So this is still very doable now for RETA on their defensive side.
Oh, dude, a nade comes out. Snows in. So good. And this pistol round might actually be the reason why RETA can bring themselves back just a little bit further. Snows in is not playing around. They can let themselves off. A beautiful ace.
Oh, yes, you are allowed to stand up on that one and to hype up yourself in your team. They played it to perfection right there. We talked about the buddy system that they needed to do here and to activate a little bit more, and they did that greatly. The first contact being Snowzine at this point, with that ghost, it activates now a deep smoke being dropped down by Delzeek so that everybody can try to swing back. You take control of small spaces. You don't have to fight the long range fight. You just fight into the closet where you know TSM wants to pop aggressively, especially when the satchels are available for Sim. So that was nicely read by RETA, and they get the beautiful pistol.
Dude, when they needed it the most, that's exactly when they showed up, and maybe it just might happen again. I mean, already finding more, the paint shell for the beauty of it all. And you're just left with nothing. Hey, Proto, what are you going to do about it? Die. There's nothing. We move on to the next round, and it honestly is just very good calculation.
It's so clean so far for the last few rounds, and you see that I was praising Sim in terms of what he was doing with the up close range in his shots, but you could definitely see on the other end, Snowzine could definitely do that too. An instant outlaw headshot with a death ball coming out here from TSM out towards Showers, and that really allowed, once again, just having more players activate around the outlaw and really just suffocate TSM, not allowing them to cross the line of scrimmage outside of Showers to at least get a plant, get some Gecko ult orbs coming through as well, and some economy on top of that for TSM. So you are keeping things very, very low for TSM moving into the later rounds here of the second half. But I do see a little bit of, lips moving, so I don't know if this is going to be a attack timeout or a tech timeout, but it's still a timeout.
It is a timeout of the sorts, of course. A technical pause for you guys, which thank you guys for kind of chilling with us and being so patient with the process. But I mean, it's well worth it. I feel like the game that we have been seeing so far, it is honestly so nerve-wracking because you would expect TSM to kind of just run away with it. Of course, pistol round, whatever, you know, there still is an opportunity to take it back for TSM. This could be their game to move to that map 3. But with what we just saw come through from Snowzen, I feel like it's snow season. I'm just gonna say.
And they're in great positions right here. Yeah, the way that they're set up here for RETA is they're trying to isolate and fight back with a trap play towards long if they find information. And even if they go for a TP towards the A site, well, the showstoppers on the other side with Snowzine with a judge. I will not be against what they have set up here to utilize this ult in their bonus round.
Yeah. Kind of waiting for it. Okay, work up there. Tim is not looking to play around with whatever's going on there. They know there is going to be some sort of pre-firing going on. Yeah, not wanting to get involved.
Still passively played here towards the RETA, but at least they're using utility to make sure that they confirm that there's still players set up in this area. And look at them cycle that utility. They really want to try to push here TSM back into the showers. And you already see 7 pinned very close to the TP. It comes down to if they TP or if they try to make a play here with Poise dogging in. He's going to look back here. I think they're going to use a dog now back towards the A site so they could act. Oh, no. This is dangerous.
Oh, this is good. They might actually... Oh, never mind. I just saw the judge.
Exactly.
Oh, no. Take it back. Take it back. Actually, no. Put it forward. It's good. We're good. We're clear. And honestly, I'm surprised the Proto kind of just went into that full force. The RETA are looking for something a little more. They do manage to bring this back just a bit. The 3v3 gives them some sort of leeway here. But TSM, they're better than this. They've had their chance.
I'm actually surprised he didn't use a showstopper. Now it gives an opportunity for TSM to play the pulse plan with 3 rifles against Bulldogs and a Spectre. And there's Poise with the first kill. Crossfire, beautiful. It's going to be over. This could have been so much cleaner for RETA if Snow used that showstopper. There was only 14 seconds left on the clock. 14 seconds. That showstopper, if he manages to die or whatnot, but still gets kills with a rocket, that allows such a clean rotate, a faster rotate for RETA right after. But they lost that position. TSM was able to flood right into the site after, take control of U-Haul at the same time, or front side default, and then the RETA just lost full control. Everything was so good until then.
RETA, I think there for TSM too, they're so good. I've noticed whenever it is that pressurable moment where it's like, hey, this is a pretty dire situation. What are we going to do about it? They do bring it back. So for them to be able to be put into that situation, I love this. This is POV. You're watching somebody play the game.
So now you can definitely see now Delzik just looking back at his mini-map and making sure that he confirms what he's currently seeing. So far, nothing. Switching over to weapons, back over to Sim, communicating here that he's going to throw some nades.
Yeah.
It pops up. He's trying to satchel across. You can see him focused right now trying to take the site. There's a little bit of Viper utility. He's green on the face. And now we're back to the stage. 10-5. Spike has now been planted. This should be TSM now playing the pulse plant. I don't think I heard any kills coming through, so this should be a 5 versus 5 retake.
You're really good at this, fans.
I mean, I try, you know. We close our eyes and we try to figure it out, but things are looking pretty good here. I think I'm at the limit though, Chad. I don't know what the retake's gonna look like, but yeah. So of course, Chad, we're going into the
Molly.
Yeah, back into it. Thank you guys so much for the patience, but up to TSM, right? We're up down to match point. This is the moment for TSM to take things back, although RETA facing some difficulties here, already leaving up to 1v2. It's up to Delzik to take things back. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. There, 7 shuts it down almost immediately after we get back into it.
Yeah, thankfully we're able to watch a little bit of that stream here over in the LATAM area while we're waiting for this to come through. But sorry for that, chat. Thank you so much for your patience. But we came across now back to TSM and a dominant dominant Bind matchup here, as we saw them working some very good defaults here on this A-side attack, or Bind side attack rather, and they're able now to push us over to Haven. But we just mentioned this before here, Gompers, where they did not look good on Haven. This is still a great chance now for RETA to understand where the gaps are for TSM with the amount of times they keep playing these 4-1 setups here on the defensive side that got punished every single time against galleries. So we'll see if that's going to happen, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, big plays, though, coming through from TSM. I mean, we finally got to see this team thrive in their own environment. I think the biggest MVP here is Vans for literally commentating in Twitch chat. Like, that was crazy.
We try to keep chat entertained. We try to keep chat entertained, for sure.
No, it was amazing, but seriously, thank you guys for being so patient. We'll be back with more Valorant, so don't go anywhere.